Hello and welcome to Nowhere. My name is Trish and I am the creator behind Nowhere Novelties. Rose gold is such an elegant color, and I think pairing it with softer golds really tie a nice theme together. I saw a rose gold V-split tumbler from a creator on TikTok. I'll have her tagged below. And it combined a Milky Way with a semi-transparent vinyl from Banff Custom Creations. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, this one actually threw me. I almost stripped the cup, but I was able to save it at the very end. There is a portion of this tutorial that was not recorded because I was definitely considering at the end that I was going to strip the cup. But I saved it. So here is the cup that we're gonna be creating. I'll tell you all about this section of the tutorial that I did not record, but let's put this one together. If you're ready, let's strap in and shoot for the stars. I am getting started with a 20-ounce skinny straight from Maker Flow Crafts. It is not base painted because I am going to base it with Pop of Color paints. These are chalk-based paints that work really well for a quick drying time base coat. Some of them do need 2 coats. I will admit that. So sometimes you do kind of have to have the waiting time between coats, but if you don't want to go outside, if it's too cold or too hot for spray paint, these Pop of Color paints are a great alternative. As you can see, I'm using my trusty V-split paper template. I got smart and added small pieces of tape at each of the center points so that it made adding the longer lines of painter's tape much easier than last time. Having the paper template on for the entirety of the taping process was actually really convenient. I was able to see exactly where to cut the painter's tape to form my points. After removing the paper, I kind of decided that I wanted the center portion that I knew was going to be like a cream color to be a little thicker, so I kind of overlapped the original tape and kind of, I guess it's not doubled, I made it about 50% larger. I think the end result with the nice bold center line turned out really well. Once those tape lines and the points are cleaned up and nice and crisp, we are ready to move on to base painting. The 2 paint glitters I'm using are Gumdrops from Peachy Olive Glitters. That's going over hot pink. And this rose gold mix is actually one that I put together as like a custom for a different tutorial that I'll link in this video, and that is going over blush. So blush went on pretty good with just a single coat. I'm using sponge applicators. If I would do it again, I think I liked the coverage I got from using these chalk paints with a makeup brush from the Dollar Tree, but for this particular color, it actually went on very well, again, with a single coat with these sponge brushes. Once my coat of paint is nice and even, I'm ready to apply the rose gold mix. Again, this is like 5 different glitters in my inventory that I put together with this custom mix, so definitely go to that older tutorial and take a look if you wanted to make it yourself. I think it looks super pretty over that blush base coat. Now base coat number 2 is hot pink. This one way runnier than the blush. It was a much thinner consistency and you can basically see straight through it. I did not get good coverage with one coat, and I knew that the Gumdrops glitter is basically translucent, so if I put it over this single layer of paint with like some of the stainless showing through, it was not going to go over well. So this was one of those instances where I had to set this one aside, work on something else, and go in with a second coat once it was dry. The one benefit of chalk paints is that they do dry pretty quickly. I would say 10 minutes or less and you're ready for a second coat. I did use a makeup brush for this coat and look at the difference in coverage. I guess because it's a lot softer, the coverage just goes on a lot cleaner. So Gumdrops, the glitter, is a like medium chunky. It is translucent for the most part. So the hot pink base coat is going to really shine through this glitter. It flashes all kinds of wild colors. It really does look like a bunch of gumdrops. The shine factor on this glitter is absolutely 10 out of 10. It is ridiculous how flashy this color is. Once the glitter is applied, you got to go right in and get your tape off. The faster you pull the tape, the better, because there you do run the risk of lifting up glitter when you pull tape. And because I am impatient, I was ready to go in with our cream color and glitter the center stripe. Now, I don't know how to say the name of this next base color, so I'm just going to describe it to you. That's good enough. It is a very lightly tinted off-white. It's very creamy. It's a beautiful base under white or like a champagne, light gold kind of glitter. Since my center stripe had a little bit of heft, I did go in with my larger makeup brush as opposed to the kind of smaller detail brush. It was a risk, but it paid off. It was okay. I got one decent coverage coat on here, but I did let this one dry out and go in with a second coat. I'm about to show you what it looked like with just the single coat dried before I put on the second coat. I might have been able to get away with it, but I'm going to be using a Glitter Heart Company glitter for the center stripe, and in my opinion, I like their colors, but that company's glitter I feel like doesn't have very good coverage. So if you have like any variation in your base color, it's going to show through the glitter. Speaking of glitter, I don't show the label at all, but I am using White Pearl from the Glitter Heart Company. It is a super fine, super flashy opal color shift. Under 2 coats of epoxy, this is what we're working with. The opal doesn't shine through on that center stripe, but in person, guys, it's beautiful. Like I mentioned in the intro, this is the semi-transparent vinyl from Banff Custom Creations. The solid pink roses and the outlines are both printed with like a white ink backing, so they are opaque. The rest of the vinyl is transparent, so everything you see that's white is going to show through completely clear. Here's how I cut a V for a V split. I get that 90-degree angle by folding each of the corners in on itself, and then I kind of determined which corner I wanted my V to be on. So I liked how this particular section came down into one of the larger roses, one of the colored in roses. So I cut that piece out. The center beige stripe is going to be lined in pinstripe, and I knew that going into it, so I had a little bit of wiggle room. And look, I'll admit that I thought I had this vinyl lined up in my section before I started removing the backing paper, so I tried the hinge method. I removed this piece from this corner, laid that down. The moment I started rolling off the backing paper, I don't know if the vinyl stretched out a little bit, or while I was removing the backing paper initially, it kind of shifted from where I had it placed in this section. But you'll see that one side is almost like way completely off that center stripe. This vinyl is not quite repositionable. I don't know if it's because it's kind of like a large version of a clear cast decal, but it doesn't really like lift up and lay back down really well. So I did have some wrinkles that I needed to deal with towards the top of the tumbler, but I knew my pinstripes would cover my offset mistake along the center line. So it was okay. I was fine moving forward. I did trim this like top corner by hand to get the rows to look like there was no seam. It worked out that the outline kind of matched up as the tumbler wrapped around, so it wasn't like one filled in rows against the outline. So I think you can't see that there's a seam there. It looks really clean. So I'm trimming off the top excess piece, and here is the pinstriping. This is Cricut vinyl. It's a textured like champagne. It's not gold and it's not rose gold. It's like a champagne color. When I find it, and I'll obviously tag it in the description box. I didn't want bright gold. This vinyl is very pretty. To get these stripes in Cricut Design Space, you want to take a rectangle shape and resize it to 11.5 inches long or wide to believe these were 0.08 inches thick. They were not 0.1 like I normally do, which are a little thicker. I am mitering my connection points, which means the vinyl is not overlapping the angle, or the vinyl is cut on an angle. There we go. So that they don't overlap. You want to watch these pinstripes. You don't really want them to overlap because you're risking them lifting at those overlap points when you apply epoxy. Okay, as I said in the intro, the inspiration from this cup, the other creator, Milky Way'd the bottom portion of her cup, or maybe it was the top portion of her cup. Regardless, she did a Milky Way in combination with the transparent vinyl that I have on the cup right now. So this is where things get dicey. For my Milky Way, I decided to go with a gold alcohol ink, a pink and kind of like a copper mica powder mixed together to form kind of like more of a rose gold, and then an interference red, which interference mica powder is, I know it looks white in the little jar, but it's not. I'm about to mix it up right here. It creates like a milky color, and you can see it flashes red in the light. I thought adding the interference red as opposed to like just plain white alcohol ink would kind of really set off the Milky Way design at the bottom of the cup. I applied this Milky Way like I do every other Milky Way, using the popsicle stick, small little swipes, only on this bottom portion of the tumbler. But I'm going to explain kind of what went wrong and how I fixed it, which is the part of the tutorial that is not recorded. So I don't know if I just didn't have enough pigment mixed into like my Milky Way cups of epoxy, but as the design, the tumbler turned, and the Milky Way stripes is what I'm going to call them, kind of blended into one another, I completely like lost the design and the three individual colors. Really, all you could see was like blotches of gold. Now, I've failed making a Milky Way in the past, and really to fix it, typically all I do is another coat of epoxy and redo the Milky Way stripes. And most of the time that works. However, for this particular fix, I decided for whatever reason to use UV resin. Basically, my thought process was I wanted a very stripy, very apparent look to the Milky Way design. So I could lay the stripes of the Milky Way colors with UV resin, hit it with a UV light, and they would stay in place as opposed to being kind of like lost and muddled with the like lower flood coat of epoxy underneath them. It did work. It did. But it looked really bad. They were too apparent, basically. So what I did to fix it after a few more coats of epoxy and to getting the cup smooth, I added some gold flake, and boom, like that's what did it. That's what brought the whole cup together. So you're about to see the finished version of the cup spinning on the tumbler turner, with the gold flake added, and I think it actually did turn out really well. I'm happy with the cup. If you have any questions or want any additional explanation, leave your comments below. I hope to see you real soon. Bye-bye now.